There was a bouquet of roses sitting on my desk at work. Not from a friend, not from family, from a man I'd been on exactly one date with. A man I'd never told where I worked, never told my last name, never given a single detail that should have let him find me. I picked up the card and my stomach dropped. I need to take you back to how we got there. It was 2014. I was living in Washington, D.C., working on Capitol Hill for a U.S. Congressman. My days were relentless, all-nighters, no social life, the kind of schedule that doesn't leave room for anything outside the job. I was somewhere between 28 and 29, and I was running on fumes. My best friend had been on my case for months. She wanted to set me up with a Tinder profile. I kept saying no. I kept saying I didn't have time. And then, eventually, the way it always goes with a persistent best friend, I gave in. I matched with someone almost right away. He was attractive, described himself as a Southern gentleman, seemed polished and put together on paper. But even before we'd met in person, something about the way he communicated felt off to me. He was pushy. Not in a way I could easily name at first, just relentless. I kept trying to reschedule because work was genuinely overwhelming and he would not accept it. Every time I said I couldn't make it, he found a way around the no. He guilt-tripped. He reframed. He wore me down slowly until I finally agreed to dinner. Just dinner. That's what was on the table. That's what I agreed to. The date, on the surface, was fine. He was polite. He was well-dressed. Anyone watching from another table would have seen two people having a perfectly normal dinner. But something about him made my skin crawl, and I couldn't name it at the time. It was the staring. He would look at me with this fixed, unblinking intensity. Like he was studying me rather than talking to me. Like I was something to be figured out. It wasn't flattering. It was unsettling in a way I didn't have words for yet. When dinner ended, I thanked him, told him I had an early start the next morning, which was completely true. And I tried to leave. He didn't let me. He pushed for one drink at the bar next door. Just one. A nightcap. And I didn't have the tools at the time to push back the way I needed to, so I went. One drink turned into two. Two drinks I didn't want, at a bar I didn't want to be at, with a man who had stopped acknowledging my signals entirely. When I brought up leaving a second time, he physically got up, walked to the bar, and came back with two more beers, as if I hadn't said anything at all. I was past annoyed at that point. I was angry. So I did what I had to do. I faked a phone call from my boss. Full commitment. Oscar-level commitment, apparently, because it worked. He finally, reluctantly, accepted that the night was over. But then he insisted on sharing an Uber home. We lived in completely different neighborhoods. There was no logical reason for it. And I knew that I did not want this man to have any idea where I lived. I tried to refuse. I said no more than once. He wouldn't hear it. He just kept pushing, kept reframing, kept making it feel like the reasonable thing to do was simply to let him come with me. So I got in the car. I gave the driver an address a few blocks from my actual apartment, a random house on a nearby street, hoping that would be enough of a buffer. When we pulled up, I moved fast. I was halfway out of the car when he grabbed my shoulder and spun me around. And then he kissed me. Aggressively, without asking, without any hesitation. I didn't want it. I hadn't invited it. I stood there on a stranger's sidewalk afterward. trying to hold it together. It took 10 more minutes of managing him, placating him, keeping things calm, before he finally got back in that Uber and left. The second the car turned the corner, I ran, not walked, ran, back to my actual apartment, through my door, deadbolt thrown the second I was inside. I slid down against the door and just sat there on the floor for a moment, processing what had just happened. I told my roommates about it that night, made a joke out of it, the way you do when something shakes you and you're not ready to sit with it. Can't wait to never talk to that dude again. We laughed. I thought it was over. Within an hour of getting home, the texts started. A stream of them, one after another, late into the night. Compliments, questions, and over again, the same ask. Can we FaceTime? Can we video chat? I told him I was already in bed. I thought naively that would be the end of it. It wasn't. The texts continued for days. Constant, relentless, the same pattern. I ignored most of them, sent short replies to a few. I told myself I'd send a proper message at the end of the week when things calmed down at work. And then, the day after the date, my office phone rang. It was the Capitol Hill Package Screening Center. They were processing something addressed to me. It would arrive in 2 days. I remember thinking it was odd. I wasn't expecting anything. But unsolicited packages weren't unheard of in that job. I shrugged it off and forgot about it. Until Friday. Our office receptionist came to my desk carrying a bouquet of roses, oversized, impossible to miss. And there was a card. I knew who it was before I even opened it. But here's the thing that changed the way I felt about all of it. I had never told him where I worked, not the building, not the delegation, not the name of the member I worked for, not my last name. I had given him my first name and a vague reference to working in government. That was it. There are 535 congressional offices on Capitol Hill, roughly 15,000 staffers. And he had found me. The right office, the right building, my full name, from a first name and nothing else. I still don't know how. The card made it worse. He wrote about the kiss. He wrote about what he wanted. He wrote about hoping I'd meet his family. One date. He had been on one date with me. That card was the thing that finally gave me the clarity to act. I sent him a message ending things directly. No more softening it, no more short replies, no more hoping he'd take the hint on his own. Done. Over. That was it. He didn't attempt to contact me at the office again. I don't know what he did after that, and honestly, I buried the whole memory for close to a decade, pushed it down somewhere and didn't look at it. It came back recently all at once when I mentioned it briefly in a comment somewhere online. That was all it took. One small mention, and every detail came flooding back. The staring, the bar, the Uber, the roses, the card, all of it. And sitting with it now, 12 years out, I am still convinced, fully, completely, that the man in this story is a predator, or at minimum, someone with the qualities of one. The manipulation leading up to the date, the refusal to accept no at any point during it, the forced kiss, the obsessive texting, and then the flowers, sent to an office he should have had absolutely no way of finding. Looking back at 28-year-old me, I understand why I handled it the way I did. I was conflict averse. I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I kept thinking if I was just polite enough, just patient enough, it would resolve itself without me having to be direct. I'd been taught, the way a lot of women are, that politeness was safer than honesty. It isn't. This experience changed that for me. It's the reason I no longer quietly stomach discomfort to keep the peace. If something feels wrong now, a person, a situation, a dynamic, I don't talk myself out of the feeling. I act on it. I say the thing. I leave. I block without a long explanation. Your gut is not being dramatic. It is telling you something. There's a phrase I came across after all of this. Politeness. I think about it a lot. Not as permission to be cruel, but as a reminder that my safety matters more than a stranger's comfort. It matters more than avoiding an awkward moment. It matters more than any of it. And if you're someone who's been in that situation, someone who's talked yourself down from a gut feeling because you didn't want to seem rude, I want you to hear that. The feeling was right. It's always worth trusting. If this one sat with you the way it's been sitting with me, if you've ever smiled through something that scared you, or stayed somewhere you knew you should have left, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. A like helps someone else find this story when they need it. And if you subscribe, you'll be here for the next one.